Every second of every day, our brains perform a quiet miracle. They take in sound, light, touch, taste, smell, millions of signals from the world around us, and weave them into the single, seamless story we call reality. This process is called sensory processing. It's how our nervous system translates raw sensation into experience, how vibration becomes music, light becomes color, and touch becomes connection. For most people, this system runs automatically, like an invisible background program. But for others, the volume knob of the senses is set differently. Sometimes it's too loud, sometimes it's too quiet, and sometimes it's both at once. Think of your sensory system like a complex orchestra. Each sense plays its part. We often talk about the 5 main senses, but neuroscience actually recognizes 8. Vision, hearing, touch, taste, smell, our sense of balance and movement, our awareness of body position, and even our internal sense of hunger, thirst, and heartbeat. When this orchestra plays in tune, the world feels coherent and manageable. But when it doesn't, even an ordinary environment can feel chaotic. For someone with sensory processing differences, a quiet classroom isn't calm. It's a storm of competing signals. The hum of the fluorescent lights, the rustle of papers, the scrape of a chair leg, each sound, texture, and flicker demands attention. Every sensory message travels to a part of the brain called the thalamus, which acts as a traffic controller, deciding what's important and what can fade into the background. But not everyone's brain filters in the same way. For some, signals that are meant to fade stay vivid. A clock ticking becomes a distraction, a light flickering is jarring, and a fabric brushing against the skin feels intensely irritating. Their brains might process sensation with hypersensitivity, amplifying every little detail, or with hypo-sensitivity, dimming sensations until they barely register. And sometimes both can happen at once. The difference isn't in a person's willpower or attitude, it's in their neurology, the unique way their nervous system organizes sensation. Imagine trying to focus on a lesson when every pencil tap feels like thunder. The hum of the lights competes with the teacher's voice, and your shirt tag feels like sandpaper. This is what sensory overload looks like from the inside. It's not a choice or a distraction, it's a matter of survival. To cope, many people work constantly to regulate their sensory input. It's a hidden labor that involves tiny adjustments throughout the day. Choosing where to sit, what clothes to wear, when to move, and when to pause. This is called self-regulation, and it's all about managing sensory and emotional balance. Small environmental changes can make a huge difference, but before we can design better environments, we have to understand how sensory processing shapes behavior. We often label sensory behaviors, like fidgeting, humming, rocking, or covering ears, as misbehavior. But these aren't problems to be eliminated. They are solutions the nervous system creates to stay balanced. Repetitive movement, often called stimming, helps regulate sensory flow. It's the brain's way of tuning itself, like adjusting a radio until the static clears. When we understand this, we stop asking, how can we stop the behavior? And start asking, what is the sensory need behind it? Sensory differences aren't errors to fix. They are a natural part of human neurodiversity, different ways of perceiving and engaging with the world. As one autistic adult put it, I'm not too sensitive. I just notice more. My brain gathers details others might miss. That's not a flaw. It's information. When we see sensory processing as a difference, not a deficit, we open ourselves to a world with a rich spectrum of perception, where every perspective has value. In our schools and workplaces, understanding sensory processing is the first step toward true equity. Learning isn't just a cognitive process. It's physiological. Attention, emotion, and memory all depend on the brain's sensory balance. When sensory systems are overwhelmed, the learning centers in the brain can go offline. But when the environment supports regulation, attention blooms, memory strengthens, and creativity flows. Inclusive spaces aren't just about access to a curriculum. They're about access to comfort, focus, and a feeling of safety. Sensory processing is the lens through which we all experience life. For some, that lens creates a soft glow. For others, it's a dazzling, intense kaleidoscope. When we understand this lens, when teachers, parents, and peers learn to see the world through it, we replace confusion with compassion. And that is where true inclusive learning begins. Every touch, every sound, every flicker of light. It's all information, a hidden language the brain reads long before thought even begins. The world speaks to us through our senses, but not everyone hears it the same way. For one person, spinning on a playground is pure joy. For another, it's chaos, the brain pleading for stillness. Our bodies are packed with thousands of sensors, all sending signals to the brain through neural highways that never stop firing. The brain has to decide, moment by moment, what to focus on and what to ignore. For many neurodivergent people, those filters are tuned differently. The sensory gate doesn't always close when it should, or open when it needs to. The result? A world that can feel brighter, louder, rougher and faster, or sometimes strangely muted and distant. Think of everyday experiences like brushing your teeth or walking down a hallway as notes on a sensory scale. For one person, they hum quietly in the background. For another, they roar like cymbals. This is the spectrum of sensory processing, ranging from hypersensitivity to hypo-sensitivity. A hypersensitive brain magnifies sensation. Light pierces, sounds vibrate, textures overwhelm. On the other hand, a hyposensitive brain might crave stimulation, movement, pressure, or sound, just to feel awake. Both experiences are completely valid. They're just different ways the nervous system tries to find balance. But beyond what we see and hear lies a hidden sense, interoception. This is our awareness of our internal world. It tells us when we're hungry, thirsty, tired, or anxious. It's the sense that helps us recognize our emotions because feelings actually start as signals inside our bodies. For many with sensory differences, these internal signals can be unclear or extreme. Sometimes a person might not notice they're hungry until they feel dizzy. Other times, a small change in heartbeat can feel like full-blown panic. When interoception is disrupted, managing emotions can feel like trying to decode static. In an everyday environment, one small sensory event can trigger a chain reaction. Imagine a pencil drops in a classroom. For one student, the amplified clatter is just the beginning. Their nervous system races to sort the noise, but when too many inputs arrive at once, it can't tell what matters. This is the start of sensory overload, a flood of input the brain can no longer organize. Overload isn't a choice or a loss of control. It's the body's alarm system screaming, "I've reached my limit." Even when overload isn't obvious, the constant effort to manage it takes a massive amount of energy. Psychologists call this cognitive load, the hidden labor of filtering, ignoring, and adapting to constant stimulation. For a student with sensory differences, every single class can drain their internal battery faster than it can recharge. By the end of the day, what might look like a meltdown or shutdown is often just pure exhaustion, the natural result of a day spent in constant sensory negotiation. But heightened sensory awareness isn't just a challenge, it's also a profound strength. Many people with sensory sensitivity notice textures, sounds, and emotions that others miss entirely. They can detect fine patterns, feel empathy just from someone's tone of voice, or find deep comfort in rhythm and repetition. This is sensory intelligence, a creative attunement to detail that fuels art, science, and design. Many artists, for example, translate the hum of the world into color and sound. Every sensitivity contains a unique insight. Most sensory input is invisible. But if we could actually see the sensory landscape of a classroom, the hum of the lights, the vibrations from footsteps, the shimmer of movement, we'd understand how intense a normal environment can be. The physical space might look calm, but the sensory environment can feel overwhelming. That's why awareness is the foundation of empathy. We can't change what we don't perceive, But once we do, we can start designing spaces that work for all types of senses. By adjusting lighting, adding soft fabrics, or simply understanding the need for headphones. Sensory input is the first language we ever learn. It begins before speech and never truly stops speaking to us. When we learn to listen beyond words and see the world through the lens of sensory diversity, we don't just understand others better. We understand what it means to be human on a much deeper level. Sound of a faint rising hum, becoming uncomfortable, then cutting to silence. The world can arrive like this. Too loud, too bright, too much. Or for some, not enough. On one side, the senses shout. On the other, they whisper. These are two sides of the same coin, hypersensitivity and hyposensitivity. Different ways our nervous system tries to find balance in a world full of sensation. Our brains are constantly adjusting how much information they let in, like a camera lens opening for more light or narrowing to prevent glare. In hypersensitivity, that lens opens too wide and every detail floods in. That quiet pencil tapping in class? It's not background noise, it's an intrusive drumbeat, impossible to ignore. For a hypersensitive person, the world can feel like having 100 browser tabs open, all playing music at once. It's not drama, it's a physical reality where the brain's filters are thin. When too much input arrives too fast, the body goes into survival mode, fight, flight, or freeze. What looks like an overreaction is actually a nervous system protecting itself from overload. Now imagine the opposite, a world that feels faint, distant, and hard to connect with. This is hyposensitivity. The nervous system is under-registering sensory input. To feel connected, the body might need to move, rocking, spinning, or bouncing just to wake the senses up. This isn't fidgeting for distraction, it's the body's way of listening through movement, of seeking more input to feel grounded. Tools like weighted blankets or sensory swings aren't luxuries. They're lifelines that bring clarity and focus back to a muted world. So what happens when these two different sensory needs share the same space, like a classroom? One person seeks quiet, while another needs stimulation. One needs calm, the other needs movement. This is the daily dance of sensory difference. An inclusive environment doesn't mean one size fits all. It means offering choices, quiet corners for stillness, movement zones for motion, and weaving understanding into every interaction. When we design for both extremes, we create a spectrum of comfort where everyone can find their balance. Sensory sensitivity and our emotions are deeply connected. The same parts of our brain that process sensation also regulate our mood and attention. When our senses are dysregulated, our emotions can follow, leading to anxiety, frustration, or complete shutdown. A person covering their ears isn't ignoring you. They're trying to stay in control of their feelings. Understanding this changes everything. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with you?" we can ask, "What does your body need right now?" That small shift from judgment to empathy creates the psychological safety we all need to learn and connect. Let's step inside a sensory overload. Imagine walking through a crowded school hallway. The lockers slam, voices echo, lights flicker. For a hypersensitive brain, it's like drowning in information. The world floods every sense at once until the filters just give out. This isn't misbehavior, it's a body in survival mode. The best response? A calm presence, a soft voice, and permission to step away. Recovery takes time. The nervous system needs to reset and rebuild its trust in the world. Then there's shutdown, the mind's emergency brake. When the nervous system can't keep up, it might retreat into a quiet, unresponsive state. It looks like detachment, but it's actually deep self-protection. What's needed here isn't words, but safety and patience. Given calm and space, the senses slowly reawaken, and the person can reconnect with the world around them. But here's the most important part. Sensory differences are not just challenges to be managed. They are also strengths. Musicians who feel rhythm through vibration, artists who see color with incredible emotional depth, engineers who sense patterns others miss, these are gifts of a finely tuned sensory system. One scientist said, "My sensitivity helps me notice small variations in data. It's not a weakness, it's precision." When hypersensitivity becomes keen awareness and hyposensitivity drives curiosity, our world expands. Think of a classroom as a living sensory ecosystem, a blend of light, sound, texture, and movement. By understanding sensitivity, we can adjust the environment before distress even begins. Using lamps instead of harsh fluorescent lights, adding soft rugs to absorb echoes, or creating quiet corners for decompression. These choices don't just help a few, they benefit everyone. A regulated environment helps all brains learn better, reducing anxiety and increasing focus. Ultimately, empathy begins with sensory literacy, the ability to read and respond to another person's sensory signals. A child chewing their sleeve or pacing the room isn't being disruptive. They're communicating. Their body is trying to regulate itself. The goal isn't to make these differences invisible, but to make them accepted, supported, and even celebrated. Hypersensitivity and hyposensitivity aren't opposites fighting each other. They are the natural rhythm of perception, like breathing in and breathing out. Every nervous system is dynamic, constantly shifting to find its balance. We are all sensory beings. Our thresholds may differ, but our need for comfort, safety, and connection is universal. To reach across that sensory difference is to build empathy in its purest form, not by trying to change others, but by simply meeting them where their senses live. The classroom, a place of learning, creativity, and growth. But for many students, it is also a complex sensory landscape. Every sight, sound, and touch becomes information that the brain must process. For some, that information is more than their nervous system can handle. For others, the world may feel muted, distant, or underwhelming. The same environment can create opposite challenges, but both can deeply affect a student's attention, emotion, and ability to learn. Let's explore the common triggers that make classrooms uniquely challenging. First, there are the auditory ones. The buzz of fluorescent lights, chairs scraping on the floor, pencils tapping, whispers between students, or announcements over the PA system. For a student who is hypersensitive, even a faint noise like a dropped pencil or a cough can feel as intrusive as a siren. Then we have tactile triggers. The texture of paper, the feel of a chair, or the tag on a shirt, subtle sensations most students ignore, can dominate the perception of others. At the same time, hyposensitive students might actually seek out more tactile input, fidgeting, tapping, or pressing against surfaces just to awaken their senses and feel more grounded. And we can't forget visual triggers. Harsh overhead lights, glare from windows, brightly colored posters, and even moving shadows all contribute to the sensory load. Some children react by shielding their eyes or looking down, while others might just appear disengaged. But it doesn't stop there. Classrooms are filled with olfactory triggers like cleaning products or perfumes, and even vestibular triggers from spinning chairs or sudden movements. What seems like a minor disturbance to one student can be the start of a cascading stress reaction in another. So, what happens when these triggers start to pile up? One small trigger is often harmless, but sensory challenges are cumulative. A pencil taps, a light flickers, classmates whisper. As this sensory input builds, the brain tries to filter and organize it. But when the input surpasses a certain threshold, the nervous system goes into overload. This is what we call the overload cascade. The brain's alarm center, the amygdala, activates, releasing stress hormones. The heart rate increases, breathing quickens, and attention narrows. The mind no longer distinguishes between a simple distraction and a genuine threat. All input feels urgent and overwhelming. The visible result might look like agitation or complete withdrawal. A child might cover their ears, rock back and forth, or put their head down. Inside, their nervous system is in overdrive, desperately trying to regain control. This cascade isn't just for hypersensitive students. Hyposensitive students face a different challenge: understimulation. For them, the classroom can feel dull, distant, and incomplete. They might appear bored or restless. To compensate, they'll often create their own sensory input by tapping, rocking, or chewing on a pencil. This movement helps wake up their nervous system so they can focus. Unfortunately, these behaviors are often misunderstood. Labels like distracted, disruptive, or even lazy get applied, when in reality the student is just trying to regulate their system so they can learn. It's an adaptive response, not a behavioral problem. Think about how these triggers interact. A single sound might be tolerable, but when you combine it with the glare from a window and an itchy sweater, the effect multiplies. It's like a sensory snowball, growing bigger and faster as it rolls. This stacking effect is why even a normal classroom can feel like a chaotic storm to some students. And when a student is in sensory overload, it directly impacts their ability to learn. Their cognitive processing slows down. Memory, attention, and problem-solving skills falter. Simple tasks suddenly become exhausting. Emotionally, their nervous system is primed for survival. Fight, flight, or freeze. Anxiety spikes, and frustration builds. If adults misunderstand this distress and respond with punishment, it only makes the stress worse. So, how can we help? Predictability is a powerful tool. Unexpected stimuli like a surprise fire drill or a sudden change in seating can intensify sensory overload. By providing clear routines, visual schedules, and simple warnings before a transition, we give the nervous system a chance to prepare, which can prevent a cascade before it even starts. Simple micro-regulation strategies can also make a huge difference. Things like noise-canceling headphones, sensory cushions for wiggling, fidget tools, or just a quiet corner in the classroom can help a student maintain their equilibrium. These aren't special privileges. For many students, these supports are essential for them to be able to access learning. Teachers who understand sensory cascades can spot the early warning signs, subtle changes in posture, facial expression, or attention. By intervening early, perhaps by dimming the lights, offering a movement break, or moving a student to a quieter spot, they can de-escalate the situation. This proactive approach transforms the classroom from a sensory battlefield into a supportive space where all students can regulate and learn. When a student does experience overload, recovery takes time. Patience, space, and quiet support are needed to create a bridge back to a state of calm and focus. Ultimately, the classroom is a living sensory ecosystem. Understanding how triggers, cascades, and individual needs interact allows us to navigate this ecosystem with skill and compassion. When a student's sensory balance is respected, learning thrives. When it's ignored, even the brightest minds can struggle. By building awareness and empathy, we can create classrooms where every student feels safe, supported, and ready to learn. Have you ever noticed how some environments feel like a storm, while others feel like a peaceful sanctuary? For many students, the classroom can be either one, but with the right understanding and a few simple adjustments, we can transform any learning space into a haven of balance, where every child can focus, create, and feel calm. Regulation, the ability to manage our senses and emotions, isn't something we're all born with. But the good news is, it can be taught and supported. It all starts in the body. Our nervous system takes in information from the world, decides if it's safe or threatening, and then tells us how to react. When it gets overwhelmed, we might feel anxious or unfocused. But strategies for calm can guide the nervous system back to a state of balance. Even simple things like rhythmic breathing or gentle movement can make a huge difference. The classroom environment itself is our first line of defense. Think about it. Harsh fluorescent lights versus soft natural light. Loud echoing floors versus quiet rugs. Cluttered walls versus clean, organized displays. Small changes can prevent sensory overload before it even starts. It's not just about the physical space, though. A calm, predictable daily routine sends a powerful message of safety to a child's nervous system. Knowing what's coming next reduces uncertainty and stress, making tricky moments like transitions feel much more manageable. Movement is another natural regulator. Have you ever felt the need to stretch or walk around after sitting for a long time? That's your body trying to regulate itself. Structured movement breaks, even for just 5 minutes, help the brain organize information, reduce stress, and improve focus. Things like stretching, rocking, or even just a quiet walk can reset the sensory system. Deep pressure is like a warm, firm hug for the nervous system. Weighted lap pads, compression vests, or even just a firm hand on the shoulder can have a powerfully calming effect, especially for kids who are extra sensitive. It helps lower stress hormones and increase focus. Similarly, small, quiet fidget tools can be a fantastic way for students to channel excess energy without distracting others, giving them a sense of control over their own regulation. Sound can either be overwhelming or incredibly soothing. For a child who's sensitive to noise, the constant hum of a light or the chatter of a classroom can feel like a siren. Noise-canceling headphones, soft background music, or even a white noise machine can create a peaceful auditory bubble, allowing them to concentrate. The same goes for what we see. Bright, flickering lights and visually cluttered walls can be stressful. Opting for softer, natural light and keeping displays simple and organized can make a world of difference. Even smells matter. Strong perfumes or cleaning products can be distracting, so keeping the air fresh and neutral helps everyone stay focused. But regulation isn't just about physical sensations. It's also deeply connected to our emotions. A calm, empathetic adult can model how to handle stress. When a teacher kneels down to a student's eye level or a friend offers a quiet smile, it helps the nervous system feel safe and connected. This is called co-regulation, and it's especially important for younger children. By being a calm, predictable presence, adults can help a child's brain learn to find its own stability. We can also give students tools to regulate themselves. Simple mindfulness exercises, like taking a few deep breaths or doing a quick body scan, teach kids how to consciously calm their own minds and bodies. Even just 1 to 3 minutes of practice a day can build lasting skills. Sometimes a student just needs a break. A designated sensory corner or safe space, a quiet spot with soft cushions, dim lighting, and calming tools, can be a refuge. It's not a punishment. It's an empowering signal that says, it's okay to pause, breathe, and reset. This autonomy builds confidence and resilience. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Every child's sensory needs are unique. One might need movement, while another needs quiet. One might love deep pressure, while another prefers light touch. The key is to observe, be flexible, and create a personalized toolkit of strategies. And here's the beautiful part. When one student finds their calm, it creates a ripple effect. The entire classroom becomes more stable, engagement goes up, and learning blossoms for everyone. Supporting sensory regulation isn't just an intervention for a few. It's an invitation for every student to learn, explore, and thrive. These aren't just classroom strategies. They are lifelong skills that build resilience, confidence, and the ability to navigate our beautifully complex sensory world. Sensory awareness begins with observation. It grows through understanding, practice, and environment, and it lasts a lifetime. When sensory needs are recognized and supported, students learn more than facts. They learn how to navigate their world, how to regulate their bodies and emotions, and how to connect with others. Awareness is the first step. Seeing the world through a student's sensory perspective illuminates hidden challenges and strengths. But action must follow awareness. It's not enough to know a student is sensitive to light or sound. We must respond with intentional strategies. Through interventions like dimmed lights, soft seating, visual schedules, and movement breaks, students gain a sense of control, Teachers gain deeper insight, and classrooms transform into ecosystems of learning and calm. Sensory awareness isn't a one-time fix. It's woven into the very fabric of the day. Think about it. A predictable greeting at the door, scheduled movement breaks, visual supports during lessons, and quiet spaces during recess. By integrating awareness into these daily routines, we reduce sensory overload, support focus, and allow students to thrive both academically and emotionally. The teacher becomes a sensory navigator, subtly observing, adjusting, and guiding students through their day without disruption. These classroom strategies are so much more than immediate interventions. They are the foundation for lifelong regulation. When students learn to identify their triggers, use supports, and regulate sensory input, they develop self-awareness, resilience, and executive control. They are learning to pause, breathe, and self-regulate, carrying these powerful tools into every future experience, whether it's college, the workplace, or their personal relationships. Regulation isn't just about the individual, it's deeply social and emotional. Understanding and responding to others' sensory needs fosters empathy. It strengthens relationships and promotes true collaboration. Through shared awareness and what's called co-regulation, like shared breathing exercises or gentle support, students learn to respect differences, anticipate needs, and act with care. This is a profound skill that extends throughout their entire life. It's also crucial to remember that sensory differences are not just challenges, they are often strengths. Hypersensitivity can bring an acute attention to detail, pattern recognition, and emotional nuance. Think of the artist noticing subtle shades of color, or the musician with perfect pitch. On the other hand, hyposensitivity can foster exploration, creativity, and a fearless approach to problem solving. When we recognize and harness these sensory strengths, we transform a perceived difference into a genuine advantage. A classroom that honors sensory diversity is really a laboratory for life. Spaces with adjustable lighting, quiet corners, and a variety of seating options teach students more than just the curriculum. They teach self-awareness, adaptability, and empathy. School becomes not just a place for learning facts, but a place to practice the skills needed to become a balanced, capable adult. In this environment, adults are guides, not just instructors. Their calm, predictable presence helps regulate the entire classroom. When teachers anticipate triggers and proactively provide support, students learn implicitly how to regulate themselves. This empathy and awareness ripple outward, creating a culture of understanding and inclusion that benefits everyone. Practices like mindfulness and reflection are powerful tools for strengthening regulation. Guided breathing, body scans, and simple visualizations teach students to notice sensations and emotions without judgment. This helps them stay calm during challenges and build a bridge between their inner world and the outer environment. Reflection then fosters insight and self-advocacy, essential skills for personal and professional growth. This work extends beyond the classroom walls. When families, peers, and the wider community reinforce these skills, the impact is magnified. Collaboration between home and school ensures consistency, reduces stress, and helps students generalize their regulation skills across different contexts. When learning and regulation are supported everywhere, students gain a confidence and resilience that lasts a lifetime. Ultimately, sensory awareness is more than just a strategy. It is a lens for empathy. Understanding sensory differences teaches us compassion, patience, and perspective. It allows us to celebrate unique strengths, fostering confidence and a positive identity. The classroom that supports sensory needs creates not just learners, it creates capable, compassionate humans. The ability to regulate, focus, and connect with others are skills that carry into adulthood, shaping resilient individuals who can navigate the complexities of life with calm and empathy. This is the lifelong impact of integrating sensory awareness. It opens doors to learning, creativity, and deeper human connection. We're diving into a crucial next step, self-advocacy. Because understanding our sensory differences is just the beginning. The real power comes when we learn to speak up for ourselves. So what is self-advocacy? Imagine feeling overwhelmed by the sounds and lights around you. Self-advocacy is the ability to recognize that feeling, understand what you need to feel better, and then clearly communicate that need. It's about moving from simply reacting to your environment to proactively shaping it for your own success. When students gain this sense of agency, they're no longer just trying to survive the school day. They start learning how to thrive in it. The journey to self-advocacy starts with self-awareness. Think of it like creating a personal user manual. We all have a unique sensory profile. Maybe bright lights or crowded hallways feel like a system overload. On the flip side, maybe a weighted blanket, some gentle movement, or a fidget tool helps you feel grounded and focused. By mapping out these sensory triggers and supports, students can gain a clear understanding of what helps them learn, focus, and stay calm. This self-knowledge is the solid foundation upon which they can build effective communication and strategies. But knowing what you need is only half the battle. The next step is communicating those needs effectively to teachers, friends, and family. This doesn't always have to be a big conversation. It can be as simple as a student quietly raising their hand, using a visual cue card to signal they need a break, or even using a digital app to track how they're feeling. When a student can express their needs before they become overwhelmed, it transforms the entire classroom dynamic. The environment can then respond supportively. It teaches a powerful lesson. Asking for what you need is a sign of strength and a vital skill for success. This process naturally builds independence. As students get more comfortable identifying their needs and communicating them, they start taking ownership of their own learning. It becomes a simple, almost automatic sequence. First, identify the sensation. Is it too loud, too bright, or do I just need to move? Second, choose the right support: headphones, a quiet corner, or a fidget toy. And third, communicate the need and use the strategy. Over time, these steps become second nature. This autonomy doesn't just help them in the classroom, it builds resilience, focus, and a deep-seated confidence in their ability to manage their own world. Self-advocacy is also a form of active problem-solving. It's not about finding one perfect solution and sticking with it forever. It's about experimenting. A student might try using a weighted lap pad one day and a resistance band the next, noticing which one helps them focus more during a long lesson. They learn to identify a trigger, apply a strategy, observe the outcome, and then adjust their approach if needed. This cycle of trial, reflection, and adaptation empowers them to build a personalized toolkit of strategies that really work for them, turning daily challenges into opportunities for growth and self-discovery. And this journey doesn't happen in a vacuum. Self-advocacy thrives in a collaborative environment. When students share strategies with their peers, it builds a powerful sense of community. Imagine a classroom where one student can signal to another that the quiet corner is available, or where friends might share fidget tools. This peer-to-peer support creates a culture of mutual understanding and empathy. The classroom transforms from a collection of individuals into a co-regulated ecosystem, where everyone is looking out for each other's well-being. Of course, teachers are essential partners in this process. A supportive teacher doesn't just give commands. They ask guiding questions like, which strategy feels like it would help you most right now? They offer choices for seating, lighting, or even the timing of breaks. By respecting a student's autonomy while providing gentle guidance, teachers model the very skills of communication and respect they want their students to learn. When a student can confidently ask for a movement break and the teacher and class adapt smoothly, it shows that the classroom is a shared space built on trust and agency. Reflection is another key piece of the puzzle. Taking a moment to write or draw about sensory experiences helps students solidify what they've learned about themselves. A simple journal entry like, "The bright lights near the window were distracting today, so sitting in the corner helped me focus," can be incredibly powerful. This practice helps students notice patterns, celebrate successes, and pinpoint areas where they might need a new strategy. Over time, this habit of journaling and tracking makes it easier for them to articulate their needs and see just how far they've come. When all these pieces come together, what we see is true empowerment. Students are no longer just passive recipients of support. They are active agents in their own education. They have the tools, the choices, and the control to manage their sensory world. On a neurological level, this empowerment helps calm the brain's stress response and frees up mental resources for learning. Attention improves, anxiety decreases, and school becomes a place of choice and engagement, not a daily challenge to be endured. Ultimately, self-advocacy is a skill for life. The ability to identify your needs, select the right strategies, and communicate effectively doesn't disappear after graduation. These are foundational skills that students will carry with them into college, their careers, and their personal relationships. The self-awareness and self-regulation they learn in the classroom become the tools they use to navigate an increasingly complex world. They learn that they are the architects of their own experience, capable of thriving not just in the classroom, but far beyond it. Sensory awareness isn't just for the classroom. It's for our homes, our communities, our workplaces, and our relationships. Understanding our sensory differences builds a bridge from managing our own needs to understanding others, creating a world of empathy and true connection. The skills we learn in school, awareness, self-advocacy, and regulation, are the tools we use to navigate every part of life. This transforms not just us as individuals, but the entire community around us. Home is where it all starts. When families understand sensory needs, they can create a supportive space that validates a child's experience. Think of it like this: strategies from school flow into the home and then out into the real world. This consistency makes life more predictable, reduces stress, and empowers kids to use their skills everywhere. When children see their needs respected at home, they learn that managing their sensory world is a normal, powerful way to live. Inclusion really blossoms when friends get it. When classmates understand that everyone experiences the world differently, they respond with kindness and patience. Our brains are wired for connection. When we learn to read each other's sensory cues, we're actually strengthening our social and emotional intelligence. Simple things, like respecting personal space or offering to share a quiet corner, are the building blocks of a truly inclusive community. But it doesn't stop at the school gate. When communities make space for sensory diversity, everyone gets to participate. Imagine parks with quiet zones, libraries with low-stimulation areas, or community events with clear, predictable schedules. These small changes create massive opportunities. A child who can wear headphones at a community art class is free to explore their passions without being held back by sensory challenges. That's what true inclusion looks like. These principles follow us into adulthood. The self-awareness and coping strategies we develop as kids are essential in the workplace and our social lives. Think about it. An adult using noise-canceling headphones in an open office, taking a quick movement break to refocus, or using an adaptive chair. These aren't special privileges. They're tools for success. When we learn to regulate our sensory system, we build lifelong resilience, focus, and adaptability, which helps us grow both personally and professionally. Advocacy is how we make this happen on a larger scale. By sharing our experiences and educating others, we normalize sensory differences and break down stigma. Every conversation, every workshop, every time we speak up, it sends out a ripple effect. Awareness spreads from schools to workplaces to community centers, leading to better policies and more thoughtful accommodations. Each one of us has the power to contribute to this wave of understanding. At its heart, this is all about building lifelong empathy. When we practice recognizing and respecting sensory needs in others, we develop a mindset that values patience, cooperation, and diversity. Empathy isn't just a feeling, it's a skill we build through experience. It's the bridge between understanding someone's reality and taking action to support them, creating a kinder world wherever we go. And let's not forget, sensory differences often come with incredible strengths. That heightened sensitivity can translate into amazing creativity, precision, and innovation. An artist who sees subtle shades of color, an engineer with a gift for spatial awareness, a musician who hears every tonal shift. These are superpowers. When our communities recognize and celebrate these unique talents, it builds confidence and a powerful sense of belonging. Building this inclusive world is a team effort. It takes families, educators, friends, and community members all working together to create a network of support. Consistent understanding and flexibility across home, school, and work reinforce these skills and empower individuals to thrive in any environment. The strategies are practical and lifelong, creating quiet workspaces, using sensory tools in public, or planning predictable social outings. These are the keys to full participation and independence. This isn't just a local issue, it's a global movement. Recognizing sensory differences worldwide creates more equitable access to education, employment, and community life for everyone. When we design our societies to accommodate and celebrate diversity, we all win. Our communities become stronger, our workplaces more innovative, and our schools more nurturing. The most beautiful part? Empowered people inspire others. When students learn to understand themselves, they become teachers. They model self-awareness and empathy for their peers, creating a positive cycle that ripples outward for generations to come. Sensory awareness isn't just one lesson, it's a new way of seeing and engaging with the world. By understanding our differences, advocating for our needs, and celebrating our strengths, we build communities that support everyone's learning, creativity, and well-being. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the world of sensory processing. If this series has been helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Let's keep building a more inclusive world together.